After 2 years of working on my out-of-time animation, it is finally complete. Originally, it was a Big Finish audio drama starring Tom Baker and David Tennant, now turned into a full-length fan animation. Today, I want to discuss the process behind creating this project, from artwork to set design to screen, to show that even you can create your own animated Doctor Who. Doctor Who is one of those shows that thrives in animation. From reconstructing lost episodes to brand new productions. Doctor Who fans have been creating these animations for years, and I've only ever really dealt in photo reconstructions, but I felt it was time for a change to attempt a new style. I was looking for a project to animate and was tossing up a few different ideas. A Big Finish audio, maybe writing my own animation. What I wanted most was to do a missing episode, but knew that it would probably be a waste of time, since at that time, I believed the BBC would animate all of the episodes eventually. This was coming from a time where this was a real possibility, that the BBC were going to animate all the missing episodes. But now that BBC America has pulled their side of the funding, that possibility is on hold. If you want to know more about that, check out my video on the end of the missing episode animations. Ultimately, I decided on animating a Big Finish story because it felt like it wasn't something the BBC would ever animate. It felt like safe territory. It also had the benefit of not being written by myself, so I had a layer of separation so I could sit down and enjoy the story without thinking, oh, I wish I changed that piece of dialogue, and be so overly critical that I couldn't enjoy it. I eventually decided on Out of Time for a few reasons. 1, it was a multi-Doctor episode, which made it feel like an event. 2, it had Daleks, which I've had a bit of experience in animating for my previous Doctor Who reconstructions. 3, it went for an hour, so it wasn't too long. 4, there wasn't too many characters or sets. And 5, finally, it was very action-y, so it felt like it would suit well to animation. Now that I chose a project, it was time to figure out how the hell to make it happen. So my first roadblock was the fact that I can't draw, unless you call this drawing. So the first point of call was to find an artist to commission. I put a call out on Twitter and got quite a few replies from many talented artists, but one stood out as a person whose work I really admired, Lucy Crew. Lucy is an animation artist based in the UK, and like me, is cursed with being a Doctor Who fan. You may recognise her work from the Series 10 animated trailer or her interview on the Doctor Who fan show in 2017. I sent her a basic briefing document based on some ideas and reference photos, but essentially let her have full reins. She sent through some early test work and I instantly fell in love. There were no notes, only thanks. Her work instantly gave the project a more professional edge, and this project would look horrendous without her. I also commissioned her for some other artwork also for my other animations, such as this first Doctor character. I don't have a project in mind with him yet, so don't get too excited. Now that we had character art, I now had to figure out how to animate the characters, which is something I had never done before. My history of animation has really been in doing reconstructions of missing episodes, moving still images around and giving the illusion, or delusion, of movement. For years, I've wanted to do character animation, but didn't have the skill set with illustrating. I was also overwhelmed by animation software. It all seemed too technical or just didn't have the right fit for me. With my Adobe subscription, I had Adobe Character Animator included. It's a fairly new piece of software, only 6 years old, and is constantly getting updates. It tracks your expressions and movements via webcam in real time, making it an approachable and simple piece of software to get a grip on. This performance-based technology really appealed to me, so I could perform each line how I would naturally with my own face. How Character Animator works essentially is, you create artwork on multiple layers, separating certain body parts, the heads, the arms, etc. You import the character into Adobe Character Animator, tag and rig all the body parts, and then move to record mode and let it capture your facial or body movements on your webcam. I personally don't record body movements with my webcam since it's a new feature. I decided to drag the arms and body around manually. A great feature is the auto lip sync, so I can just import the scene audio and the characters lip sync to it. You might have to do some manual adjustment, but it's a great way to start. It's a piece of software that is trying its best to be as approachable to anyone on any level of animation experience. So if you want to try it, I definitely recommend it. There were endless tutorials by OK Samurai, a YouTuber who works with Adobe, that made it even simpler. So once you rig your character correctly, it's fairly straightforward. Rigging is probably the hardest part, which leads to some awkward looking animation at times. I have a few awkward moments and out of time due to my complete inexperience, but over time I've improved, and in future animations I'll be able to refine the rigging. Ultimately, without Character Animator, this project never would have been completed. I'm looking forward to the future of the program too, and I love the feeling of learning alongside the developers. Okay, so now that we have the character art, the character animation, how do we get them on set? I'm just going to admit it, I hate 3D modeling. I do, I hate it. It's the part I hate the most. I did one semester of Intro to CGI at uni and only just passed. But doing that course did teach me one thing, the basics of 3D modeling and rendering in Autodesk Maya. Or is it Maya? I'm sure I'll get 100 comments telling me off. I'm not going to go into too much detail in this section because I really just make it up as I go along, but essentially I build the sets, I usually get a lot of models online, or generously donated by my friends such as Aaron J. Klimas, who provided the classic Dalek drone here. Any inaccuracies in the Dalek models are due to my interference. Aaron's model work is immaculate, detailed, and incredible. The exterior of the Cathedral of Contemplation is based on the Big Finish trailer for their initial release. I wanted to match the stylistic choices from the Big Finish trailer and the cover. Therefore, costumes, Daleks, and characters match quite closely. Since it's an audio drama, a lot of how it looks is up to the audience listening and their imagination. I'm sure many people pictured it differently, and hell, so did I. But my skills in 3D modeling are limited, so this is as good as it gets. The freedom of a 3D set in comparison to drawing the background is that I can move the camera around anywhere I want, making getting a background to be framed correctly with the character is easier than ever, and I can make quick adjustments if it's slightly off. My approach is very similar to how the BBC do their official missing episode animations of late. They create their 3D sets and do character artwork in a separate program, and then combine them together in editing software. Speaking of which, let's discuss editing it together. This is the part I enjoy the most, putting it together. This is where it starts to take shape as an actual piece of drama. I edited out of time like all my projects in Adobe Premiere Pro. I start the edit by, of course, listening to the whole production, pulling out what scene is in which location. I drew a loose map of the cathedral, how the corridors work, where the characters are, and how they move from set to set. This story can be quite confusing, for it jumps from room to room quite frantically. Then, I went scene by scene and listened to the scene a few times, and tried to find the natural shots that would have been done. The default is the basic, establishing a wide shot so the audience knows where they are, and which characters are in the scene. Then we cut to dialogue mid-shots and switch between them. I try to think of any shots that need that wow moment and think of different ways of showcasing it. I listen to the natural storytelling beats and let the audio and script tell me what to do. I think my issue with some fan animations is that they do not establish a scene with a wide shot or do not follow basic film conventions, and sometimes that can feel a bit confusing. I do believe rules are meant to be broken though, and there is no right or wrong way to create art, film or animation, etc. But I think if a scene isn't making sense, sometimes a back to basics approach can fix that. The best way to do this, in my experience, is to storyboard it. Once again, I can't draw. So what I did was I planned every shot in Premiere. I render out the background plates in Maya, and then put a still 2D character where they should be in the shot. I plan out the whole scene and play it back to see if it makes sense and flows correctly. Once that's done, I go and animate the characters. Then I bring the characters into Premiere, put them in the right shot. I then do some lighting and add some depth of field if needed, and then it's done. The scene is complete. One of the advantages of working in animation instead of film is that if a shot isn't working, you can just redo it. With film, you have to organize a whole new filming day or try to edit around it, or chuck in endless ADR. By the way, ADR is re-recording audio in a recording studio after filming has finished to add in extra dialogue. There are limitations on the type of shots I can do due to angles of the artwork. But since the Daleks are 3D, I try to do some more interesting angles with them to switch it up and keep interest. Also, some things I just could not make my characters do, such as crawl. But a benefit of the production originally being an audio drama is that sometimes the audio can do the work for you. And just hopefully, it all makes sense in the final edit. Now that it's all put together, all I had to do was hit render and it was done. And it only took 2 years of my life. I was originally unsure of how to release this animation due to copyright. Was it something I kept private and only shared between friends? Would I contact Big Finish to release it as a free download with purchase? Ultimately, I decided the best way to do it was to release it without audio and let people sync it with the official release. I was expecting the video would be taken down by Big Finish within a matter of days, but surprisingly, the opposite happened. Seemingly, Big Finish seemed to be content with me uploading it, even twitting about it on Twitter. It was also featured in Doctor Who magazine, which was very kind. So I think for now, I'm in the good books. I try not to make people angry with my work, but if you know me, I hate being told what to do by authority figures and big business. I like to be left alone in my little cave to make Doctor Who projects in peace without interference. I can't compete with BBC lawyers and copyright claims, so I don't bother. I usually end up taking down a video of the BBC copyright claimant. So it's nice that this can exist, and people have a chance to watch it. I'm also happy that it exists as a fan-made animation on YouTube. Someone suggested very kindly that I should send it to the BBC so they could make it an official release, and I couldn't think of anything worse. I'd rather it remains as a good to decent fan effort than a terrible to cheap BBC product. Like the Web of Fear animation. Oh, you thought I wasn't going to mention the Web of Fear animation, how much I hate it in a video? Well, you're wrong. But yeah, be careful with copyright. You can't just make anything you want. I very much used a legal loophole, but I still don't own the IP to Doctor Who, its characters or likenesses. I didn't make a cent off this animation. In fact, I spent a lot of money on it. And I'm very happy that people liked it. And it's nice to somewhat enjoy something I've made, which is a rarity for me since I hate everything I've ever done. So, now that Out of Time is complete, is it all over? I am in the very early stages of working on a new animation, The Brink of Death, the regeneration episode of the 6th Doctor, played by the incredible Colin Baker. It's very early days, so years away from being done probably, but I have started building sets and started storyboarding, so it's far from being all over, etc, etc. But I implore you to give animation a go. Please, we need more fan animators out there. It's my particular niche interest in Doctor Who fandom. Fan-made reconstruction of missing episodes, fan animations of Big Finish audios, I love them. If you've uploaded a Doctor Who animation to YouTube, there is a very high chance that I've seen it. I just love them that much. I search Doctor Who animation literally every week to see what people are doing. So please, I am begging you, give it a go, because honestly, I can't and I won't animate hundreds of Doctor Who stories. It's a lot of work for just one person. So, I have a question for you. If you could animate any episode of Doctor Who, what would you do? It could be a missing episode, a Big Finish audio, your own original idea, anything. Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to click below to subscribe to the official Josh Nez YouTube channel.